I'm Fred Snell. Welcome to this segment of There Is Something About Andover. Today, our topic is the 125th anniversary of the founding of the Andover Village Improvement Society, known by most people simply as AVIS. A disclaimer, I was a board member and past president of AVIS. Today, though, I'm excited to have the current president of AVIS, John Hest, as my guest. John, welcome.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having us, Fred. And thanks for your service to AVIS over the years.
Oh, very welcome. John, why was AVIS founded in the first place?
In the late 19th century, there was quite a bit of reaction to industrialization. And so all around the country, people were trying to establish means of counteracting that. And one of the things they did here in Andover was create the Village Improvement Society in order to improve the village. One of the main things they did was plant flowers in open space and near street intersections. And the main focus at the time was actually, interestingly, the train station, because that's where people first saw Andover. It was the main way you got into Andover, so you wanted to improve that area. So that was one of their first focuses.
Wow. So why is AVIS called an improvement society anyway?
There were quite a few improvement societies. It was a name used nationally, actually, to create something because they wanted to improve the village. So Improvement Society was the name that was picked. And different improvement societies have evolved to become different types of organizations. AVIS is the oldest that is a land trust, but there's one, and a lot of people know about the Wynnum Tea House. That was formed originally by a improvement society, the Wynnum Village Improvement Society. I know of one in, I think it's Pennsylvania, that over time they realized that they needed better health care, and they formed a health organization. They now have a hospital and home health care. So it's whatever organizations wanted to do. In our case, we became a trust, a land trust.
So how did it get to be a land trust? What was the history behind that?
Yes. Well, the original group and some other people from Andover were concerned around the same time that Andover Village Improvement Society was started. There was a lot of concern about developers wanting to get land in Andover. Behind the high school, there's an esker. It's a glacial erratic. Won't go into all the terms, but it's something left by the glaciers, and it's really full of good gravel. And they wanted that gravel to use to make roads. And so people in town formed the Indian Ridge Association. And the Indian Ridge Association ended up buying that property instead of letting the developer do it. And then in 1915, the two organizations merged. They had very similar missions, improving the community, and so they merged, and AVIS was the name that was retained.
Okay, interesting. Now, AVIS is not part of the town government, is it? A lot of people seem to think that.
No, there are other organizations in town that are responsible for open space. The town owns quite a bit of space, and Andover Village Improvement Society. Also the trustees of reservations. A lot of people know the ward reservation. But no, we're not part of those organizations.
Right. We're totally an independent 501c3, I think is the technical term for it.
We have a board of directors that is responsible for managing the organization. That is 15 people.
Great. Well, so how much land does AVIS have in Andover?
AVIS owns about 1,200 acres, and those acres are all around town. We like to think of AVIS as being Andover's backyard, because everybody who lives in town is within just a few minutes walk, certainly, or a short drive to an AVIS property.
Right. So 2019 is the 125th anniversary year. What things are happening?
Yes, 1894. So 125 years later, we're partnering with a lot of organizations in town. It's been very pleasing to us that so many different people and organizations have stepped up to work with us in order to get people out. That's our main focus this year, is try and introduce people to parts of Andover maybe they haven't been to.
Excellent. So what are some of the organizations, John?
The one organization is the Andover Trails Committee. They've actually volunteered to organize a hike every month on AVIS properties. The Memorial Hall Library is organizing it's already up on their website, something called the Great Outdoor Reading Program, GORP. People know GORP as
We know GORP.
what you do when you carry with you what food you carry.
Right.
The library is also hosting a number of speakers who are talking about interesting topics like birds or edibles. And then we're working with the Andover Center for History and Culture. They have actually started last week an exhibit of the history of AVIS. It's a very excellent exhibit, so I hope everybody can go there and see it. It'll run through August. And then the Addison Gallery of American Art is going to have an exhibit in the fall. I mean, there are plenty of other things going on too, but those are the main ones.
Wow, that's quite a good cross-section of the town organizations. Anything else going on?
Are going to have a lot of work parties, and we're going to have some very interesting things that people can learn about by going to our website, avisandover.org, is how we distinguish ourselves from the car rental company.
Yes.
But there's plenty of activities for everybody, including a children's hike during spring vacation, and hikes that are led by our land manager, David Dargy. He knows the reservations much better than everybody else. We're going to have something called Tuesdays with Avis beginning next month. So there's lots going on.
Yes, that sounds like quite a busy year. I was fortunate to live in Andover in 1994 when the 100th celebration went on, and I think this is going to be equal to or better, or certainly different than that. So how can people learn more or join AVIS to help support land conservation in Andover?
Well, it is important. We're a completely volunteer organization, and then we have wardens and volunteers who take care of all the 1,200 acres. It's quite an effort to do that, and we rely on our members. It's fairly inexpensive, but people can go to our website if they want to join, and we use those donations for our membership to support our normal activities. We have to buy equipment, we have to buy boardwalks, or build supplies to build boardwalks. And then usually every year or every couple of years we have some property that we need to buy, and we usually have a capital campaign just to buy that. We've been very lucky. Last year we got 20 acres donated in West Andover, so we didn't have to have a capital campaign, but there's usually something coming up to get more land. The other thing that we're trying to do in this year is raise funds to support our land stewardship. More and more there's a lot of pressure on the lands that we have. It might be from runoff from nearby properties. It might be deer who are eating all of our undergrowth, so that will really affect our properties. And we need money to be able to manage those things, including invasive species. How do you remove them?
Climate change certainly has had an impact on the invasives. I know even in my own yard there are plants, weeds that are showing up that I've never seen before.
Yeah, their invasives are taking over many of our reservations. We have hired an expert, and that's why we need some money to do that. So we have a goal of raising $125,000 for our land stewardship fund in our 125th year.
For our 125th year, yes.
Because when you have to hire experts, they cost some money. But they are helping us to define where the most critical areas are, to remove invasives, to how to find out about the emerald ash borer. I'm sure you're familiar with that, which is killing off all of our ash trees. When the ash trees die, they leave an open space, which allows sunlight and more room for invasives to grow. So
correct.
there are things like that I'm certainly not an expert on, but we have some people who are, and we're trying to really bolster our efforts in that area.
Okay, well, listen, that's a sounds like an exciting year ahead with a lot of good programs for young and old. And thank you so much for coming in and
Okay, thank you
doing
for
an
having us,
interview.
Fred. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.